Hello everyone, welcome to Canteen Cup. My name is Scott, and today I want to talk about POTA, which is Parks on the Air, and SOTA, which is Summits on the Air, activations, and a survival kit. I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about a survival kit with POTA and SOTA, because namely we talk about radios and what radios we're going to use. However, we should also be prepared. So I have kind of assembled a couple things here I wanted to show you and to give you some ideas of what maybe your survival kit should look like. I also want to put the caveat in that doing a SOTA or POTA activation doesn't mean you are going off into the wilderness to live forever, never coming back. Typically, when we do a SOTA or a POTA activation, we are fairly close to civilization. If you're doing a lot of parks on the air activations, you may be in the middle of a park surrounded by people. However, some places like some national forests, you can be a little bit remote and you may have to do a little bit of walking. Same thing with SOTA. The last activation I did, I basically drove up to the summit, took my stuff out of my car, set up, operated, packed up in my car, and then left. Most SOTA activations are one-day affairs. In other words, you'll drive, let's say, to a trailhead. You may march a couple miles uphill, operate for a couple hours, and then pack up and come down and get to your car. So the reality is you are typically never far away from civilization, and certainly not very far away from your car. However, there can be circumstances where you may have to spend the night. And so you should be prepared when you go on some of these activations. You should be prepared to spend the night wherever you are. That being said, you should be telling somebody where you're going. And if you are not home by a certain time, they should be calling the police, the sheriff, the park rangers, whoever, and telling them where you are. So the first caveat for POTA SOTA survival is to tell somebody who is not in your party where you are going. Tell them where you are going. Tell them what time you plan on getting there and what time you plan on leaving, and then probably what time they should worry. Now, some of the reasons why we do this is because where we are going, there may not be cell service. Or you may have thought there was cell service, and then once you got there, there isn't any. So you won't have a way to communicate with the people who are looking out for your best interests. What I recommend is that wherever you're going, get a copy of the topographic map. These are PDFs that are free from usgs.gov. Find out where you're going, and you don't have to print the whole map. Just print where you're going to be. In this case, there's a Forest Service road, and I don't know if you can see, let me get a little close. But you can see where I have made a dotted line of my path I plan to take once I leave the main roads, and then where I'm going to end up. And that way, if they are calling the Park Service, at the minimum, they can take a picture of this with their cell phone and text it to the park rangers. Also, you'll notice right here, I've got the latitude and longitude of approximately where I'm going to be. And then also down here in the white, I added it also. And in this case, I'm planning on going to Rattlesnake Mountain, which is in Alabama. And then these are the coordinates. And you give this piece of paper to whoever it is going to look out for your safety. Now, I usually print 2 of these, and I take one with me, so I have a map. And it's at least a map to get me back to the main roads, and it shows me where I am in relationship to other roads, and where to go and where not to go. In this case, I do happen to have the declination here. And so this will help me. Now, this map, when I printed it, was not to scale. It's slightly larger than scale, which is okay. Scale is not important as long as somebody can take this picture and look at their map and transpose it over. So that's number 1, is telling somebody where you're going to be. The second thing you should do before you even leave the house is check the weather. Not just the weather for the day you're going to be there, but what's going to happen maybe that night and then maybe the next day. Down here in the southeast, sometimes we have some pretty severe temperature swings. I think either tonight or tomorrow night, right now it's about 70, 75 out there, it's going to go down into the 30s. And that can have a significant impact on how comfortable you are if you have to stay out overnight. So check the weather and dress accordingly. Not only dress for the here and now, but what might be and maybe what will be either tonight or tomorrow or the night you're going to be out, and then maybe the next day. For example, if weather is predicted, maybe not while you're planning on operating, but rolling in the evening, you may want to bring some extra rain gear. Something very lightweight is a contractor's trash bag. Put it over your head, cut a few holes. This will probably fit you and your pack, and you'll be dry. You can. These are long. All right. Mine's about 5 foot. I'm 5'8", and I'm just touching the ground. So you can curl up in this thing pretty easy if you had to. Of course, if you want to have, bring Gore-Tex, whatever, to keep yourself dry. But I would recommend that you plan for the weather. All right. The other thing is knowing where you are at any given time. And there's a couple ways to do that. Now, SOTA POTA activations are mainly geared towards ham radio operators. So we're going to have what? We'll have ham radios with us. One of the radios I like to bring when I go on these activations is this radio. It also has APRS built into it. And I'm not being technical, so all you techno weenies out there, take a breath. This has a way for me to not only see where I am, as in the latitude and longitude and what Maidenhead grid I'm in, but it'll also allow me to beacon it or transmit it into an APRS net, which are in most parts of the country. And typically, if you're at a summit, a lot of times you can hit one of the APRS nodes. And what that'll do is when you send the beacon out, and if a node can hear it, it basically drops your coordinates and your call sign into the internet, and it goes to a website, and you will show up on that website that anybody can look at. So that could be a place for people to maybe see where you are, that if you are stuck somewhere and you can get a beacon out, they can see it. Also, if you are moving and you occasionally beacon, people will know where you're moving. Now, this depends on where you are, what the terrain looks like, and where the various nodes are. When I did an activation a couple weeks ago, I beaconed once, and I hit about 5 different nodes. And I know that because they come back and they tell me which ones heard me. And then I checked on my cell phone because I had cell service, and there's an app for APRS, and I looked at it and it showed my call sign right where I was. So this is a good thing to bring with you. You can also talk on 2-meter repeaters again if you can reach them. This gives you another form of communication that maybe your cell phones might not have. So it's something to think about. The other thing for keeping yourself found is to have something like this. This is a InReach Explorer. I think Garmin owns it now. But this is a GPS, and it's also a text message sat phone. I can send text messages. I pay about $10 a month or $12 a month for the subscription service, that I can send messages to my family via email or text messages to tell them where I am. This will include my position. So if I'm stuck somewhere, I can send an SOS, and here I am, and I don't need a cell service, and I don't need radios, but this goes up to the satellite. All I need is clear sky. They make different ones now. Garmin has them, but very good. I originally bought this when I was working in Washington, D.C., because I was afraid and found out that my fears were well-founded, that cell phone service can jam. And if I got stuck in D.C. during one of these emergencies, I still wanted to be able to get a message to my wife to tell her that I was okay. We lived about 65 miles away in Front Royal. All right. So Garmin, InReach, lots of information there. All right. Moving into the nitty-gritty, you should always have water. Again, a bladder's good. At least 1 liter of water. Keep it in your pack. Have a little bit of food. Something like Met RX bars, Pop-Tarts, granola bars. It's just some calories. Insect repellent. Always good to have. This is like 25%. I normally like about 35%, which is what the military DEET has. A couple of these. And if you're going to be on top of a summit, there may not be any shade, so a little bit of sun lotion. So that's all the kind of the pre-stuff. But let's talk about the actual survival kit. And mine doesn't weigh a whole lot. And I keep it all in this little, it's a Condor, I think it's called the gadget bag, but it's just a little bag, and it's just enough stuff to help me survive a night. And the idea is you're not going to be comfortable. More than likely the next day you'll either get yourself unlost or get yourself unstuck, or you can walk out, whatever, or somebody's going to come find you. So what we concentrate on with this little kit is having just enough stuff to maybe survive the night, and then have ways to maybe navigate a little bit, and have ways to contact your rescuers. So without further ado, I have a compass. Just a simple compass. Get a good one. Silva, Suunto. This is a Brunton True Arc 3. It was like 13 bucks. But get a decent compass. That way, if you have to walk out, you can at least know where you're going. I carry a lighter. I don't carry a lot of matches with me. One reason being is I've had this little lighter. I tend to put my dates on these when I get them. I've had this one since 2013. Still lights. So I carry a lighter. I just got these. I carry, that's probably about 6 or 8 foot of surveyor's tape that you can kind of string on trees to help people find you. Fire starters and a book of army matches. These are damp proof matches. They're not waterproof, but they're damp proof, and I have used them in some pretty damp areas. They work, and so that's really between that and the big lighter. That's all I feel I need. Really, we're just worried about getting a fire for one night to keep ourselves warm for one night. Okay, signaling, a whistle. This is my first aid kit. It's just a couple band-aids. Again, I keep a first aid kit in my truck, which is probably only a couple miles away. And, you know, this is just to cover a boo-boo until I get back down off the mountain or whatever. Again, this is not a high risk, high, you know, high air. The probability of you actually getting stuck is probably small, but these are a couple things to make it easier. I put a pocket knife. I carry one with me wherever I go. But I do like this one because it's got a saw and it's not as big and clunky as a like a Leatherman. I carry a little hat flashlight. It clips on your headband. And I have a signal mirror. Again, the purpose of this whole kit is to be able to survive the night, and then when people come looking for you the next day, that you can signal them. You can have a whistle, you have a fire, you have a signal mirror, you have radios, your cell phone. And then the last thing I have stuffed in my kit is a folded up space blanket. This can keep you out of the weather. If you build a fire in front of you and put this behind you, it'll reflect heat back into you and keep you somewhat warm. Again, it's not, you know, this is not a, you know, I'm never coming home first aid kit. It's just enough for the night. You got a little bit of food, you have water, you have fire, you have navigation, you have a way to get firewood with using the saw or breaking branches. You have several different ways to communicate. You have a way to keep the bugs off you. You have a way to prevent sunburn. Believe me, I got that last time. When I went up in that mountain, I started out with a brimmed hat, which I usually wear, but it got so windy and cold up there, I took the brimmed hat off and I put a beanie on, and my nose got like really sunburned. It hurt. And so this is a kit. Like I said, it's not, you know, it's really not so much to make you overly comfortable, because you will be fairly comfortable. This is to keep you alive till the next day, because remember, if you've done your due diligence, you've told people where you are, you've checked the weather so you know what type of clothes to bring with you, you gave maps, you're going out, you know, probably in the morning, coming back in the afternoon, the chances of you really being stuck out there are fairly slim if you plan properly. But this is just in case you do, and it's just enough. You know, you want to have a fire, you want to be able to navigate, you know, whittle the break up the boredom, try your radios, you know, try to get help. But hopefully, if you told people where you are and you left them enough information, more than likely somebody will be out there that night. And when you hear them coming up the trail, you can start blowing your whistle, and they'll come find you and they'll take you home, and everybody will be happy. So just remember, don't panic. Take it easy. And remember, you're bringing radios and antennas and stuff, so that's going to add weight to your pack. So you don't want to add a 15-pound survival kit on top of all the other stuff you're bringing, because what will happen is you'll leave that home because it'll get too heavy. This is a small kit. Like I said, this is a Condor Gadget, I think is what they call it. Very small kit. I even have extra room for other things, but I don't want to bring any more. This is, you know, it's probably 6, maybe 8 ounces when it's all stuffed full, and that'll help you. So think about what you're doing. Again, this is not a doomsday scenario. It's a, oh gee, I have to spend the night in the woods. So let me eat my bars, drink my water, start a fire, and wait for somebody to come get me. All right, everybody. Stay safe and stay secure. And we'll see you out there.